What's your name?
My name is Darla James. Darla Ruggles James, if you want that.
What's the Ruggles part?
That was my maiden name. That was my family's name.
You grew up around here?
Yes, in a small town just west of here. It's called Connellsville, in a Nineveh Township. And it was north of Novinger.
Ruggles family. What were they known for?
Really?
Yeah, really.
Womanizing, beating people up, drunks, everything.
Your dad had a lot to live down, didn't he?
He did, and he didn't want to be like it. Mom says, I'm not going to marry you if that's what you're going to be like.
Was he?
No.
Amen. Your mom was a preacher's kid.
My mom was a preacher's kid.
But she fell in love with a man who...
Wasn't a Christian.
How long did it take him to be a Christian?
Till probably the last few years of his life, and he was 70-some when he died.
Yeah. Mom finally got what she wanted. Took a while.
We all did. We prayed all of our lives.
Yeah.
He never stopped us from going to church. He just didn't go too often.
Yeah. You guys have any money?
No.
What was it like?
We never knew. Today's society, we would be poor. Back then, we never thought of it being poor.
Did you guys have running water?
After I was about 12, before we had to have it hauled in by a truck.
They put it in a cistern and then you'd pump it out of the cistern for the house.
We had to share water. We had to not let any of it go to waste.
Yeah.
Cut our own wood.
Yeah? Did you ever go on a wood cutting with your dad?
Almost every weekend when it got time to do it.
So you'd take the truck and a trailer and head out to the woods?
Just a truck. And he piled it full.
And what was your job?
Either stacking the wood on the truck until it got too high we couldn't, and then him and my brother took care of that. And then he would cut off the tree limbs and stuff, brush, and we took the brush off.
Okay.
And made piles of it.
All right.
He hunted.
Yeah? What kind of food do you eat? What kind of hunting food did you have? I mean, anything, yeah, sure, anything. But what do you bring home? What do you remember him bringing home out of the woods?
Brought rabbit, squirrels, pheasant, when it was in season, deer. He'd go fishing, had fresh catfish, and even roadkill sometimes.
Did your mom? You said your mom worked gardens, other people's gardens.
Yeah,
so she was essentially a sharecropper.
Yeah, she worked her own and others just so we'd have food on the table.
So you get vegetables from mom's gardens and other people's gardens that she would work, and then your dad would bring something out of the woods. Or roadkill.
Or roadkill too.
A lot of people joke about roadkill.
No,
It ain't no joke, is it?
No.
All right, what you had an incident where roadkill was like right outside the house.
Yeah.
And I know it. This is one of those things that I call a miracle. When the roadkill happens, not a mile down to the left or the right, but literally when it's at the end of the driveway. What was at the end of the driveway one night?
Somebody hit a cow. And I don't remember the whole story, but the people that owned the cow didn't want to come and deal with it. And it had to be done. And so they told Dad, well, if you can get it moved and processed, you can have it. So Dad's like, okay. So he called up family and friends and said, if you want to come and help we'll give you some meat out of it, but I need some help to process it. And he processed it and everything else. It was early morning by the time they got done.
3, 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, probably.
No kidding.
I mean, I was probably in bed by then, but yeah. I remember them saying they went to early morning, and probably he had to get up and go to work, too.
And he worked, his job was?
He worked, probably back then, if I remember right, he worked floor shine, shoes, which later became Wolverine. He retired from there when they shut down. He was a farmhand. Before that, he also worked for a bakery as a confectioner here in town.
He made candy.
He made candy.
He was good at
it. Yeah, he was. That was one thing he could make. We always teased him he couldn't boil water, but he could make candy.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
So, your mom, she was a preacher's kid?
She was a preacher's kid. Her dad was a minister. Most of her family was.
When did she start preaching?
Late in life, probably 30s or 40s, I would say. She had through her life, there was about 4 churches that she helped pastor.
And did
she have her own? Yeah.
Yeah. Did she, was there a time when she didn't know Jesus?
Yeah, when her and dad probably first got married, they liked to do the bar scene and the partying and cussing and smoking and everything else.
Yeah.
And came back to God.
Amen. So when you were growing up,
mm-hmm.
by the time you came along,
mm-hmm.
your mom was full on Jesus.
Mm-hmm. That I can remember.
Yeah. Did she ever own she owned a diner?
She owned a diner.
Do you remember the name of the diner?
That, no, I don't. But it was in a small town, even further west that a Novinger called Greencastle, and she owned it for 2 years.
Yeah. What else does she do for a living?
She did the gardens. She was a stay-home mom of 4 kids, which I'm the youngest. And then the most important, probably, the ministry work.
Yeah.
And she done that up to the time she passed.
Amen.
One of her last things was she married her sister and brother-in-law because they got a divorce. And that was just a couple of weeks before she passed.
And they wanted to be remarried,
mm-hmm.
so she remarried him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So your dad had to live down the Ruggles name.
Mm-hmm.
Your mom had to come back to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
What have been your difficulties? What storms have come in your life?
What storms? Well, it started when I was born. I was born with juvenile cataracts that from the ages of 3 to 5 I had to have surgeries. And probably because of it, because back then they didn't have the modern technology they got now. I'm blind in my left eye. My right eye, the best they can do is 20/40 with glasses. And now with contacts. I can wear contacts too. Never been able to drive.
You ever drive a car out in the field or anything like that?
Yeah, I've driven down country roads and stuff like that. And in Joplin, I could back up a vehicle and stuff because we had a big
expedition.
Yes.
I knew it was one of those.
Started with an E. I couldn't remember which one it was. Yeah.
And so Jeff would let you back it up.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you never got a driver's license.
They wouldn't let me.
Yeah. Missed out on that.
Yeah. I was born with a hole in my heart that they didn't find until I was 13. And then a month before I turned 14, I had to have open heart surgery.
They do that in town?
They did that in Columbia.
So your folks had to go down to Columbia.
Spent a week down there, a little over a week.
Poor families spending a week's worth of money and wages.
And while Mom had the restaurant. So, of course, Dad was without work and, had to hire somebody to take care of the restaurant because we had to keep it going.
They got a phone call one night.
Yeah, they were staying in the hotel and I was in ICU. And they decided to move me that night to a regular room. And I told him, I said, well, I'm fine with that. But I said, you need to get a hold of my parents. And I told them where they were staying at.
Where were they staying?
Motel 6.
Okay.
And they said, okay, told them what room. They called the hotel. And they took a note to Mom and Dad. And the desk clerk asked if they were, Ruby and Elmer. And they said, yeah. And Dad happened to look over the guy's shoulder. And he thought it said Darla's heart had stopped. And Mom said he instantly turned gray-headed and about passed out himself. And all it said was Darla has been moved. But the way the guy's handwriting was, it said it looked like my heart had stopped. And I was Daddy's little girl. And that just about got him then. And so yeah, I had surgery. So I was recouping at home in the summertime and done that.
Your dad's got a nickname.
Yes. You want to know it?
Yeah.
His nickname's, because his name is Elmer, and he used to have CBs, handheld CBs and stuff, and his nickname was Elmer Fudd.
And so Elmer Fudd would call home when he hit the high spot on Highway 6. And Mom would answer on her CB.
Because he would say, I'm headed home, or I'm on my way home, or I don't remember the thing. And she'd have supper waiting for him.
Your dad had probably one of the first wireless communications used between home and the car.
Probably. I don't know. But yeah.
It's funny. He essentially had cell coverage before anybody else, was just called a CB.
He could even talk to airplanes if it was the right kind of night.
So Elmer Fudd has a little girl, and she has a speech impediment. What was your speech impediment?
I could not pronounce my R's.
So Darla Ruggles sounded like
Darwa Ruggles. With W.
Darwa?
Darwa Ruggles.
Wuggles. Ha ha ha. So Elmer Fudd had a little baby girl
Yep.
that had Elmer Fudd disease. That's interesting. That's very interesting. How'd that go for you? How long do you have to deal with that?
Probably till 4th grade or so. Then I had to take speech classes.
Yeah.
And finally got over it. I learned how to talk with them.
Yeah. THs as well?
THs, but yeah, every once in a while it still gives me fits. But I learned how to stop and pronounce my words, or I try to anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
It says here you acquired adult onset diabetes. When did that happen?
Probably late 20s to right around 30. I'm not for sure. I know it was, sometime around then. And dealt with that. Thought my life was going to end with that too. But it didn't. Learned how to cope with it.
You get to go dating like other girls?
No. Nobody wanted to.
You get picked on a lot? Your sisters and brother come to your defense?
Till they got out of the house, but yes.
Yeah. Wasn't easy on you, was it?
Never was.
You ever get angry at God?
No, not really angry, as I would say. I would be just asking him why. Why me? Why don't I have a life like others? Why can't I have the normal life? Because to me, I felt like I lived a sheltered life. I did growing up because of my eyes and everything else. But no, I never really was angry at God. Because my faith was stronger than that.
Probably got that from your mom.
That and my sister that's just older than me. Me and her, well, when I was at that impressionable age, growing up, I seen her and then I seen my other 2 siblings, and they went the way of the world and had issues and, this and that, and my other sister didn't. And I seen what Mom's faith was, and I thought, that's the way I want to go.
So what'd you choose?
I choose God. I chose God. I still do. I still follow God.
Has he let you down?
Not really, no.
How old were you when you met Jeff?
I was 35 when I met Jeff.
And you dated online?
Online for about a year and a half.
And he was from where?
Joplin, Missouri.
Go down there and visit with him?
Try to, not very often because of the long distance and me not driving.
Yeah.
He would either come see me on holidays, or if my pastor at that time was going down that way because they had relatives in Branson, then Jeff would meet him up there. Or one time we went to St. Louis to see his family, so he just drove up here, and then we drove from here to St. Louis.
When'd you get married?
Good Friday, April 18th, 2003.
And then you moved down to Joplin.
Then I moved to Joplin.